Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. Together we'll chant verses 1 to 5 of chapter 3. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Jayasi chet karmanaste.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Mata buddhir janardana.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Tat kim karmani ghore mam.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Niyojayasi keshava.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Vyamishreneva vakyena.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Buddhim mohayasiva me.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Tadekam vada nishchitya.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Yena shreyohamapnuyam.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Lokesmin dvividha nishtha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Pura prokta maya nagha.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Jnana yogena sankhyanam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Karma yogena yoginam.
Na karmanam
Na karmanam
Naishkarmyam purushoshnute.
Naishkarmyam purushoshnute.
Nacha sanyasana deva.
Nacha sanyasana deva.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति
न हि कश्चित् क्षणमपि
न हि कश्चित् क्षणमपि
जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्मकृत्
जातु तिष्ठत्य कर्मकृत्
कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म
कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म
सर्वः प्रकृतिजैर्गुणैः
सर्वः प्रकृतिजैर्गुणैः
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So last week I had explained to you what Nishta is, the various dimensions of Nishta. Now, when you see all that, you will be able to get a hang of the power of this word Nishta. It's very difficult to translate this word Nishta, that to just one word and put it in the translation, We have put it as path. Because if we put any of these dimensions, let's say we put it as position. In this world there are twofold positions, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Now, nobody will understand what it means. If we put it as faith, belief, devotion, now all these things will give just one aspect of Nishta. If we put other dimensions like depth or conclusions, that will totally confuse people. So that is why this word path has been put here. As I told you, along with these sessions, the yogic translation of the Bhagavad Gita is also being made. The yogic translation means we'll be using such words which will subtly trigger a sadhak's depth, sadhak's thinking process. Thinking means, I don't mean mere superficial analysis, but deep thinking process. For a person who just reads this casually, nothing is going to be triggered. That's why I said a sadhak's deep thinking process. For you all, of course, since you are into the yogic approach, now you're learning all the dimensions. I wouldn't say all the dimensions, but many dimensions which are good enough for you to create the depth within and move on in your inner path. So when we talk about Nishta, the spiritual path, one of the major obstacles which people have is their own preconceived notions. See, you will be having your own idea of what is Karma Yoga, for example, in this chapter. You will be having your own idea of what is Jnana Yoga. Now, once you have your belief or whatever your ideas are, now every time you receive the wisdom about Karma Yoga, your mind will immediately bring out the preconceived notion and compare it with that. If the wisdom which is given is resonating with the preconceived notion, you will have no issues. You will immediately accept. You will absorb this. But if the wisdom is saying something opposite to your preconceived notions, then there will be a resistance. It will become a block. It will not allow you to absorb this higher wisdom. So that is why it is very important for you to set aside your preconceived notions and receive this higher wisdom with a fresh mind. Temporarily set aside your preconceived notions. Later on you can always do the comparison. But during the process of receiving, you should have that much control over the mind where you just set aside all the preconceived notions and you receive this fully. Because when your mind has a tussle with the wisdom which is being offered, that is one thing. But the deeper issue there is that in the yogic approach, it is not mere intellectual wisdom which is being given. There is a lot of healing Shakti, the healing energy also which is being invoked. The wisdom is being given with that energy. So what will happen is, due to the preconceived notions of the mind, if you fall a trap to that, and your mind keeps fighting with the knowledge aspect, that will prevent you from receiving the higher energy, which is a very big loss, because having taken that much effort to come to set aside some time every week, Sunday morning, when you're listening to this, with all the enthusiasm, you've taken all those steps. Now, because of this small thing, you should not miss out on the higher aspects. The reason why I'm giving this point about the preconceived notions being a block is because a sadhak has, when writing the points in the YouTube section, is whatever he reflected upon and whatever has inspired him, he has mentioned something very interesting. I'll just read that and I'll explain it further. This will be very useful for all the sadhaks. He has expressed it, but many others may not have expressed it. So through this, I'm giving a message to all the sadhaks. So this has been put by Ashish Garg. He has given all the points he has written. Thank you, Yogishri, for all the wisdom given today. So 1, 2, all the points have been given. I am not reading all that, just this portion which is relevant here. Sir, thank you for translating Nishta to Bhakti or faith today. For last 2 weeks, mind was stuck. How come Nishta is path? Maybe since childhood, mind is trained to translate Nishtha to Bhakti or faith. Will now understand second line again after this block is removed. So Ashish ji has put down this point. The wonderful thing is, sir, that you have recognized it as a block. That itself most people will not do. See, generally how the mind functions is, it has certain preconceived notions. Now, when this wisdom is given and it doesn't go along with the preconceived notions, immediately the person will conclude that, no, this is not correct. Whereas, beautifully you used the word block itself, and you said that, once the block is removed, I'll be able to receive this better. That is the correct approach. So when you're full of preconceived notions, what happens is the mind will constantly keep fighting with this wisdom, as it were. Sometimes they may go together, but that process is not under your control. So as a sadhana, my request is to all the sadhaks, when you are attending these sessions, temporarily shelve everything which you know. It is a conscious effort which you need to make, and in a blank way receive this. Later on you can sit and you can compare notes, you can bring out your whatever previous knowledge which you have, and you can see how that fits in and all that. But that is later, during reflection. When you are receiving, to gain maximum benefits, you should receive this fully. And I'm more concerned about not the wisdom part, because that will keep coming again and again, but at no cost should you miss the higher energy which is being given, because that will cause a lot of healing of karmas, healing of your energy patterns within. When I'm using the word healing, I'm not using it in a medical way, merely as healing of diseases and all that. No. It is a complete setting things right. That's what we mean by healing. So the whole idea of these sessions is to provide you with an opportunity to receive the higher energy. That is a very difference between the yogic approach and a normal approach. So having come to the yogic approach, if you don't receive that, then that is not okay. You're really missing out on the most valuable aspect of spirituality. Even valuable is not correct, I would say the essence of spirituality is that energy only. So many dimensions of Nishta are there. Now if you just get fixed with one thing, then it will again lead to a lopsided development. It will not give you a complete picture. So primarily, when we say path, we are talking about the inner path. So Nishta means position, your inner condition. In the spiritual journey, where is your consciousness positioned? Where is your consciousness placed? What is your inner condition? That is what essentially Nishta is. So when you absorb these dimensions of Nishta, what you understand is the spiritual path has nothing to do with externalities. It is not what you portray to others which defines your spiritual level. It is what your position is, what your inner condition is, that determines your spiritual level. Just because a person wears a particular kind of clothes, a particular color, or puts on various marks on the body, various symbols and all that, doesn't mean that person is necessarily spiritual. That is only an outward show. What determines whether a person is progressing in the spiritual path or not? Whether he is following the Nishta, all the dimensions which were given to you. So, Nishta means, as I told you, fixity, fixing a goal, being steady in your pursuit, the devotion, faith, belief in yourself, belief in the higher. Excellence means striving for excellence. See, that is an essential aspect of Karma Yoga. Work is worship. So, if you say, I am a spiritual sadhak, but you are not giving your heart and soul into whatever work you're doing, then there is a big discrepancy. See, you're disrespecting the work here. Work is an expression of the divine. You're disrespecting it here, but then you're claiming that I'm doing sadhana. There is no meaning. You should always put into practice what you are claiming to follow. It is a reverse. You should practice first, then only you should talk. That is a rule of the yogis. So, excellence, skill, perfection, everything which you do, try to give your best. Give it your best and try to do it as perfect as possible. Why I am saying try to do it as perfect as possible is 100% perfection externally is not possible. So when he is talking of excellence here, he means your tendency to give your best shot at everything. Either do something properly or don't do it. Never make half-hearted attempts in your life. That will become an impediment to success. If you want success, you have to pay the price for this. And then conclusion, end. You go on putting in effort. You don't stop your efforts till you reach the end of your pursuit. And then it means suffering. Suffering means your capacity to say no to immediate enjoyments which are clashing with your long-term goals. That is a quality which every achiever practices. And then death. Death means the death of ego. Even in a poetic way, we say, even at the point of death, I will do it. Means that shows the commitment, the deep commitment which a person has. So your relationship with your Guru is not merely external. To the extent you have all these qualities, to that extent you are actually relating to your Guru. Remember this. You may be physically close to your Guru. It doesn't matter. To the extent you are established in the Nishta, it means you are growing internally. Again, it is not the external show. See, the moment people come to spirituality, they start showing off. In the yogic path, it is always said, never show off your spiritual powers. See, as you advance further, many things will come to you. Wealth will come to you. In your own field, name and fame will come to you. The various siddhis, the powers will come to you. Riddhi, Siddhi, Navanidhi, so many things will come. Now it is a word of caution has been given in the scriptures that a yogi should not display his powers to others, because when that is done, there will be a boost of ego, and that can completely remove all the spiritual energy which a person has so carefully acquired. Sometimes some masters may have exhibited some powers for a specific purpose in order for the benefit of others. That is different. But as a sadhak, you should always be very humble, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever be your way of life, that is external lifestyle, all those things do not matter. But internally, be established in the Nishta path. So in this world, there is the twofold path as stated by me earlier, O Anagha, sinless one. Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. So I have given you very many dimensions of what this twofold path is. The Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga, what they mean. So Sankhya and Yogi, that's what he says, both are aspects within you. So a comprehensive practice of all the aspects of sadhana will help you to evolve as an individual. If you leave out one aspect, and if you just keep doing only one aspect, then the overall growth will not be there. That is another big obstacle which sadhaks face in the spiritual path. Your mind can just get involved in one particular aspect, and it can start neglecting the other aspects. Ultimately, that will become a huge block, and it will not allow your consciousness to expand. It has happened with many people because the ego is waiting to trade upon the powers which you gain through your tapas, through your sadhana. So if a person, let us say, he practices only gaining of knowledge, there is no devotion, he thinks knowledge is more superior. Initially it may be fine, but after a while, the very knowledge will become a block, because the ego will come. I know more than others. He will have no control over it once the ego starts getting into his system. Similarly, if a person practices only bhakti yoga, if he feels jnana and all is inferior, now that thought itself is a meaningless thought. So what will happen is slowly, initially it will be very nice, but after a while that person will become a fanatic. In the name of bhakti, fanaticism will set in. Irrational beliefs and fanaticism, that will again become a big block. Like this, various aspects of the spiritual sadhana are there. Now, without involvement in the sense without that attachment, you should be fully involved, means in the sense focused, but without that extra attachment, extra involvement, you should objectively do your sadhana, because remember, your goal is not these practices. Your goal is the infinite. If you merely keep getting attached to these practices, then you will never go further, you will get stuck there. See, either people don't do any sadhana at all, or if at all people do any sadhana, they get attracted or attached to one particular aspect of sadhana. And then after a while, the mind gets stuck. So you should be careful about that. So before we go to verse 4, I will give you one more dimension of the twofold, the Vivida, twofold path which he is talking about. Then we'll go to verse 4. There is so much to this actually. Out of that, a few have been revealed to you, which itself is more than enough for you to absorb and purify yourself. Now, when he says, Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam, this Jnana yoga and karma yoga, just for a second, we will not use the Sanskrit terminologies. Instead of that, we will use the word subtle sadhana and gross sadhana, subtle aspect and gross aspect. Because the word dvivida, we have translated it as twofold path. Now, dvivida also means two parts. It also means part, stages. It can also be taken as two stages in spiritual development. Now, when we take that dimension of the dvivida, we get excellent sadhana tips, which it will be very useful for you. In the spiritual path, there are two basic stages. One is one is called the gross stage, and the other is called the subtle stage. Now, how do we determine whether you're at stage 1 or stage 2? We can keep it as stage 1, stage 2. In life, see, you go through three transactions. One is you receive various stimuli from the world, then internally you react to that, and then you respond back to the world. Now, let us say your reaction is very strong to whatever stimuli you receive, then that is going to cause a lot of disturbance within you. If something negative happens and you react to it very strongly, then that can cause a lot of internal disturbance. Your responses also will start becoming negative. It will create a lot of karmas, that is psychic impressions in the deeper layers of your personality, what we call as impressions. Sometimes a positive stimuli may be there, but if your reaction is not within your control, then you may get so excited about it, and then you will not even know what you're doing. So, in the first stage, a person's reactions are very strong. Such a person, technically, from a yogic perspective, we can say that person is highly extroverted. We are not, see here, extroversion and introversion is not the dictionary definition of extroversion and introversion. According to the dictionary, extroversion means outgoing, introversion means feeling shy. Here we are taking the root of the meaning, the root meaning of extroversion and introversion. Verto, the root verto means to look. Now, extroversion means look outside, introversion means look inside. Just that we are taking. So when a person's reactions are very strong, that is stage number 1. But through sadhana, regular sadhana, when you apply these principles in the right sense, slowly, you will move to stage 2. It's a gradual process where you will receive all the stimuli from the world, whether you receive or not. Your internal reactions will start becoming less. You will become more objective in life. What he calls a sakshi bhav, a witnessing attitude. You will go through the various experiences, but since the reactions are less, that will not cause an impression in the deeper layers of your personality. That is an advanced stage. So, when it comes to stage 1, a particular kind of sadhana has been given by the masters, and as you start moving to stage 2, a different kind of sadhana. When we say different kind, it is not different kind actually. It is a difference in degree, because from grossness you have moved to becoming more subtle. So what will happen to you as you grow spiritually is that initially you will follow the sadhana in a gross way. But as you progress, as you become more and more advanced, now you will acquire that subtlety, sukshmata. Sukshmata means subtlety. So you will relate to the sadhana, you will do the sadhana in a very subtle way. So initially you will relate to the external practices more. That is how everyone has to start. But as you advance, you will relate not to the external practices, but you will start relating to the subtler energy aspect. So, when he says karma yoga, 2 stages, karma yoga, jnana yoga. Now don't, when we are studying this dimension, now don't equate it to the usual karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga which has been explained. Now leave that aside and you see it as karma yoga means the first stage. We can call it as the gross sadhana. The jnana yoga which he is referring to here is a subtle sadhana. Why? Because your reactions have become less. Your impressions have reduced. See, when you're loaded with impressions in your deeper layers, now what will happen is your reactions will not be under your control. Even little things are enough to trigger a lot of turmoil within. Whereas as your impressions are washed away through sadhana, now your own reactions come under your control. A person comes and insults you. Now you decide to react in a particular way. See, whenever you decide or choose, obviously you will choose the positive only, whatever is good for you. So initially when you have a lot of impressions, a person insults you, now your reaction will not be under your control. That will upset you. But in an advanced stage, a person insults you, now you will say, that is his problem. Why should I lose my peace of mind? So you will react internally in a positive way only to everything. It means you've gained a lot of mastery over your own mind. So when you're loaded with impressions, the mind will rule you. When the impressions start reducing, then you will start gaining control over your own mind. So, in the initial stages, a lot of emphasis, the lot of emphasis is laid on the grosser aspects of sadhana. That is how the various rituals and all that were prescribed by the ancient sages. Of course, according to the times, the sages themselves kept changing the rituals, because whenever people got involved with merely the rituals and they got stuck there, they never moved further, and they come and changed many things so that the mind will come out of its slumber and start moving on in the real path, the Nishta. But the external practices were given so that the extroverted mind, the gross mind, the mind which is reacting all the time, can easily relate to it. See, when a person is reacting all the time, now if you give him a very subtle sadhana, now sit quietly and differentiate between Jivatma and Paramatma. He'll become very restless. He will say, he will not be able to do it. So to such a person, if you tell him, now breathe very, very slowly, by the time you finish the word slowly, he'll get very agitated. He will say, give me something which I can follow, which I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. That will be his energy pattern. So for such people, or I would say for everyone, both these aspects are there. So initially the grosser aspect will be more and the subtler aspect will be less. So that time you will focus on the external aspects of the various methods. For example, when you do karma yoga, you will do gross karma. Now as you advance, you will do the same karma in a subtle way. It is very interesting. What was the karma of Lord Buddha? It is explained so beautifully that every day he used to spend 1 hour in doing karma yoga. And what was that? He just used to look out from the window. He will just look at the whole world, whole universe with compassion. He used to radiate that energy of compassion consciously. That was his karma yoga. It is a subtlest aspect of karma yoga. Oh, please don't practice that. You open your window from tomorrow and you're looking on the road, because what will happen is if you do all that, it's like trying to copy a master without reaching that level. So if you open the window and look outside, now instead of compassion, you will get involved with whatever is happening there, So as far as a sadhak is concerned, he should first start with the grosser aspects. So same thing with bhakti yoga. Initially there will be you may be inspired to do a few rituals. You may want to light a lamp, whatever it is, external practices of bhakti. That also has a place. But as you advance in bhakti, when the true bhakti or devotion starts springing forth from within, automatically the grosser aspects will stop. It is said in the Shastras that when a person gets inspired by God, now he will be unable to do the rituals. Why? Not that he is actually unable to do the rituals, because all his energies are focused on the higher. So that is advanced bhakti. So from grossness you will automatically move to subtlety. Similarly, jnana yoga. Initially you will have to start off with information gathering and points and the contemplating and all that reflection. But as you move up in the spiritual ladder, you will start doing Jnana Yoga in a very subtle way. The subtlest form of Jnana Yoga is discriminating between what is real and what is unreal. Who am I? That is a very subtle aspect of Jnana Yoga. It's a natural growth which will happen. Even the Hatha Yoga practices, initially a lot of external movements, but as you advance, the breath itself becomes very, very subtle. It's called the Sushumna breath. Very, very subtle. And the energy channels, you start experiencing the energy channels, the nadis and the energy centers, the chakras, and each chakra opens up to a particular dimensional existence. So many things, so many secrets are revealed to you. So this is stage 1 and stage 2, 2 stages. Both have to be practiced. It is not that you first do stage 1 for a long period of time and then you go to stage 2. Both these aspects are within you. The proportion will vary. So initially, your focus will be more on the grosser aspects of the sadhana. That is how you need to carefully structure your sadhana. And then as you advance, you will automatically start doing it in a subtle way. That is why I gave this suggestion: when you do the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana every day, initially it will be nice if you make things conducive for yourself. If you want, you can light a lamp. If you have a bath and if you do it, that psychologically that creates a very wonderful mental climate. And if you bow down, because it's a secret, it's a secret of the Siddhas, it's a very sacred sadhana, no? So you bow down to God, you bow down to the Guru Shakti, and then when you do the sadhana, that will have a very powerful effect. But as you advance, anytime you want, you can just close your eyes and get connected. That is a subtler way of doing the sadhana. So you don't start with that. It's a gradual development. So every day, what is suggested is, in the early hours of the morning, you spend time in doing the subtle sadhana. The rest of the day, you should practice the grosser aspects of the sadhana. So when you combine these two intelligently, your growth will be ensured. But if you get stuck to any one aspect, now that will lead to a lopsided development. So when he says Jnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam, Karma Yoga is the gross sadhana and Jnana Yoga is the subtle sadhana. So when we are looking at it from the stages point of view, you see it as gross aspect and the subtle aspect. It all depends upon how much of karmas a person has, how many impressions a person has. When a person is loaded with karmas, then that person cannot do the higher sadhana beyond a point. And if he tries to force himself, that will lead to a lot of agitations only. So this is a beautiful, logical, scientific way which was devised by the great siddhas and sages for us to grow. There is nothing which is superior or inferior. It is only a question of what is subtler and what is grosser, that's all. So, sometimes when we use the word superior or inferior, what we mean is not as a judgment that lower level, higher level. It's not in that sense, Even sometimes we use the word expressions like lower level, higher level. It's not used in a judgmental way. In a factual way, we are saying this is this is primary education, this is middle school education, this is higher education. Higher in the sense you are prepared to gain more subtler wisdom. So if you progress thus, you will reach the final stage. See, the final stage of Nishta is that fixity, fixing. So when you come to that most advanced stage, now that is what is real meditation, where all your energies are focused on the higher. Your thoughts, your emotions, your pranas, your breath itself gets fixed. Actually, the breathing process becomes so subtle, it stops also. These are very advanced secrets, It naturally, in the yogic language, they call it as kevala kumbhaka. Kumbhaka means retention of prana. For a layman to understand, retention of breath. Breath is not prana, but just to make it easy. So people practice, inhalation, holding, exhalation. That is an all very gross aspect. But the subtler aspect is kevala kumbhaka, where when your mind gets fixed there, then your breath also gets fixed, your body also gets fixed. That is called asana siddhi. So that kind of single pointedness will give you the experience of the infinite. You cannot forcefully do that. Please don't try to fix yourself forcefully. No. You should focus only on the grosser aspect, and these changes will happen automatically. See, remember one thing, in spirituality alone, always follow the practices at your level. Don't do something because a master does it. Don't do something because you feel something is very high and all that. If you are in the third standard, now you should stick to the third standard syllabus. If you take up fifth standard syllabus and start doing, that will lead to a lot of confusion. So in these Sunday sessions, the depth is given and the sadhana material also is given. With that, see, whatever material is being given, whether it's Yoga Sankirtan or the other empowerment material like Kaya Tattva, Prana Tattva, now in the Anandoham you will get more material. And then this wisdom which is being given. All these can be practiced at any level. So you should determine, you should understand what your level is and practice accordingly. Just because I told you, one lady sent a mail to me saying, "Oh, infinite, in the form of my guru, my infinite, give your infinite blessings to this infinite student." Just because you read somebody like Swami Ramatita, who addressed the audience as the infinite self in the form of ladies and gentlemen. No, you should not start using that word. That will lead to a complete disorientation of the personality. You should be careful. Always be simple and function from your level. Jnana yogena sankhyanam. It is for sankhyas, means one who has reached a very subtle level. Karma yogena yoginam. Here the word yogi is used to mean whatever I had explained just now. Elsewhere, he may use the word yogi to mean an enlightened person also. That's why it's very important not to get stuck with words. In the Bhagavad Gita, he demonstrates that by using these words interchangeably so much that if you follow it carefully, you will not get stuck with the words. You will get to the concepts. Is this clear? So as a homework, you can do that. You can see how much are you reacting to the world. Very simple. Because you may ask me the question, how do I determine my level? Your intensity, the intensity of your reactions determines your level. If you are able to be detached, objective, then that determines, that shows that you have grown a little bit spiritually. So you can easily find out. One person has sent a mail, sir, is it necessary to follow the yoga sankirtan in this order? Can I do like that? Can I do like this? See, a particular order has been given, taking into consideration all these aspects. Now, if you dabble with that, either you should know that science fully, otherwise it's better to follow the system set by the great masters. It will make it easy for you. So there is no comparison here. You are unique and you have your Nishta, you have your path towards the infinite. Now, a master may give one tip to one person, another tip to another person. He may teach one thing to one person, he may teach another thing to another. Those two people may be related to each other, probably husband and wife. But he may tell the husband one thing, he may tell the wife one thing. Now, that should not cause any confusion, because it all depends on what that particular person needs to move to the next level. So, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, in this world there is the twofold path, two staged path, the path which has two stages, two parts. You can use those words. As stated by me earlier, O sinless one, yoga of knowledge for Sankhyas and yoga of action for yogis. So I have given you certain dimensions of the twofold Nishta. You can see them again if you want and grasp the whole thing. So to sum it up, one is the subtler aspect and the grosser aspect. The other thing which I was explaining to you the last few weeks is the sadhana has two parts, that is absorbing the higher principles and practicing them in their lives. So all these dimensions should be absorbed by you. Then you can easily practice them. Okay? Now with this we will move on to the next verse, verse number 4. न कर्मणामनारम्भात्
न कर्मणामनारम्भात्
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Naishkarmyam purushošnute.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Nacha sanyasanadeva.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Siddhim samadhigacchati.
Na karmanam anarambhat. Naishkarmyam purushah ashnute. Another beautiful verse. By non-commencement of action, anarambhat, arambha means starting. By not initiating action, that's what you mean. By non-commencement of action means by not initiating actions, a person does not obtain, na ashnute, ashnute means obtain, does not obtain naishkarmyam, the state of actionlessness. See, these are all very, very powerful words which he is introducing. He is introducing a new concept called naishkarmyam. See, when I'm saying concept, it is not intellectual concept. Principle is a better word. He is using introducing a new principle, naishkarmyam. Naishkarmyam refers to the supreme infinite state of actionlessness, the state of total silence. He says that state cannot be achieved by na karmanam anarambhat. That is, karmanam anarambhat means by not initiating actions, by moving away from actions, by avoiding the fresh actions, you cannot achieve the state of actionlessness. And then he continues, nacha sanyasanadeva means sanyasanat eva siddhim samadhigacchati. Nor by sanyasanat means by renunciation, not by sannyasa. Sannyasa means is understood as renunciation, giving up, no? So don't think that by renunciation one can obtain siddhim. Siddhim here means perfection. So one cannot achieve perfection through renunciation. So he is smashing all the preconceived notions which you may be having. If you have a previous half-baked knowledge of spirituality, now you will get very confused here. Because sannyas is considered as a very sacred thing. And here he says, by sannyas, by giving up, you cannot achieve perfection. He is completely smashing all these concepts. The wrong concepts. As we go along, not only in chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, see, everything is he'll be building on the previous chapters, just as verse by verse he keeps building on the principles. Similarly, even chapter by chapter, he keeps advancing. So, what exactly does it mean by sannyas? What does it mean by naishkarmyam? Everything will be explained from different dimensions. Of course, in this verse itself, a lot of inputs will be given to you. which will be very useful in when we go to further verses. So before even we go into the details of the verse, if you just see the external aspect, by non-commencement of action, one does not obtain actionlessness. Nor by renunciation does one obtain perfection. He is deliberately using contradictory terms. See, this is one of the things which all the masters do. See, when you go to a master, now you are full with your preconceived notions. In order to break that, what the master does is he uses apparently contradictory terms. Whatever you know, it will look as if he is talking against that. Whatever you think is right. Assuming that whatever you're thinking is right is limited, now he will deliberately present the knowledge in such a way which will shake you. For example, in the second chapter we saw one example of this. Arjuna was a warrior. Now he had so much of value for his weapons, He had acquired the name Dhananjaya, winner of wealth. He was never defeated. Even Karna was defeated several times. But Arjuna was such a great warrior, he remained undefeated. So he had so much of value for weapons. So when Krishna was explaining about the higher self, what did he tell Arjuna? He said, no weapon can cut this. Immediately, that would have shaken Arjuna, because he felt, as long as I have the weapons with me, now I am protected. I can achieve anything I want. But here he says, with those external weapons, you cannot achieve the higher self. So to shake him up and put him into the deeper thinking, Krishna said the weapons cannot cut it. Supposing a wealthy person goes to a master. A wealthy person, not merely being rich, but let's say he has an ego over that richness. There are many wealthy people who are so humble. I'm not referring to them. Supposing let's take a person who is rich, wealthy, and at the same time highly egoistic about it. He believes that with wealth he can get anything he wants. So he goes and with a lot of ego offers some Guru Dakshina to the Guru, offering, I will give you so many millions, teach me this. With a lot of ego, supposing he asks. Now what will the master say? If he is a true master, he will not accept that offering, because it is not about the money part, but the bhavana is not okay. See, a true master will only look at the bhavana. So here the person, if he does it with the ego, he will say, wealth cannot buy this wisdom. Just as Krishna says, the weapons cannot cut the self, wealth cannot buy spirituality. If another person say, he is a CEO of a company and he goes to the master with that ego that I am the CEO. See, generally when you approach a master, you should strip yourself of all the worldly achievements and go in a humble way. But supposing he goes with a lot of ego, I am the CEO, I am in a very powerful position, and he goes there. What will the master tell him? Position is no guarantee for spiritual growth. Just because you are in a higher position in the world doesn't mean you are in a higher position in spirituality. Nishta. Nishta also means position. That is external position. This is the internal position. So that will shake the person up. Supposing a person is very famous, he is a celebrity, let us say, and he approaches a master with the ego that I am famous, then what will the master emphasize? He will say, name and fame is nothing. That cannot give you access to the higher self. So according to what the student requires, depending on the block which the student has, the master will powerfully present the wisdom to shake the old concepts. The master per se is 100% neutral. He is connected with the infinite. His only goal is that person who's coming has to move to the next level. So for that, many a times, he may use contradictory statements. That is, contradictory means it will sound contradictory to the student, because like, see, for example, Arjuna was valuing weapons so much. Now when Krishna says weapons cannot cut this, that sounds contradictory to his belief. A person who thinks wealth is everything, now when the master says wealth is nothing, now that is contradictory to his belief. Similarly, name and fame, power, position. Supposing a person who's having a lot of power, he goes, he'll say power is nothing, internal power is everything. Now that will sound contradictory to his beliefs. So this is a technique employed by the masters to shake a person up so that the person will come out of all the preconceived notions and blocks which he or she has created from within. And not only that, when it comes to these various principles, they don't want you to get fixed with any words or any word or any limited concept. So many a times it will look as if they are contradicting themselves. Upanishad is full of that. When he is describing the higher self, God, he says God is very near. Next statement, God is very far. Durena. Now you will get shaken up. See, today you may not get shaken up because you are reading it casually. But if you are a real sadhak and you are receiving that wisdom with excitement and with the motive of becoming enlightened, now that will definitely shock you. So the entire first chapter Arjuna has been talking about giving up action, because he was unable to handle his emotions, so he wants to run away. And here Krishna says, by giving up action, you cannot reach the state of actionlessness. So Arjuna would have been shaken. You can just imagine the situation. To make it interesting, the story part, the situation, all these things make the philosophy very interesting. Why has the Bhagavad Gita been kept in the Mahabharata? When you read the Mahabharata, and in that context when you read the Bhagavad Gita, that makes it very, very interesting. It gives more life to it. So if you can imagine Arjuna as a great warrior who is listening to these higher truths given by Lord Krishna, if you can visualize that, then you can understand the method which Krishna is employing. He is unsettling Arjuna's mind for positive reasons. Unsettling means he is giving a shock treatment. Whatever Arjuna is thinking is right, he says, no, that is not going to help you attain perfection. So two things he says. Anarambhat means non-commencement, not initiating any further actions in the future. And then he says sanyasanat, means renouncing, giving up whatever activities which you're doing today, actions, anything external, wealth, whatever be it. By giving up all that, both these, not initiating anything in the future, giving up everything which you have today, he says one cannot obtain naishkarmyam, actionlessness, one cannot obtain siddhim, perfection. So if you are carefully following, now you will ask, now how then will I attain perfection? We are going to see that. So this is a psychological psychological technique used by Krishna to prepare Arjuna. See, as I have mentioned to you, the truth can be given in a single second, not even second, less than a second. When a master was asked, how long does it take for you to get enlightened, for a person to get enlightened? He said, as long as it takes a sharp needle to pierce a rose petal. Insert it, but it goes, no? That's all. But how long does it take to prepare you to come to that state? That is going to take a while. So Krishna, being a Jagat Guru, the Supreme Master, that was one of his manifestations, being an avatar. Now, he is presenting the wisdom with an inbuilt preparation. The style of his presentation is such that as Arjuna is listening to him, as Arjuna is receiving it, he is also getting prepared. It's like an energy bomb, he's throwing it on Arjuna, so that this bomb will completely shatter his blocks. See, in spite of making such powerful statements, it's very interesting. I told you in chapter 5, again he asks the same question. If you consider renunciation of action superior, then why should I act? So, which one is it that you consider superior? Because the block is so strong. Many births you have gone through to create the block. So, at one go, if the master pounds and smashes that, the student will not be able to bear it. The student will collapse. So, Krishna is using the psychological technique gradually. Verse by verse, he is triggering questions in Arjuna. He is triggering the deeper thinking process, the deeper reflection process in Arjuna. That is a subtle work of a master. He will never give out things directly, straight away. He will put it this way, he'll put it that way, but he'll help you find the truth. Sometimes for inspiration purpose he may say a few things directly, but otherwise he always works around a student's blocks and deficiencies. That is why it is said in the scriptures that one can never understand the ways of a master. Chances are you will only misunderstand. Many great masters were totally misunderstood. Their motives cannot be, first of all, understood. All this Krishna is doing just for Arjuna's sake. Krishna has nothing to gain out of all this. How long will it take for Krishna to say, Arjuna, now listen, this is what you need to do. Either do it or you go. I can anyway handle it. He doesn't say that. With infinite compassion, with infinite love, he is working around the blocks of Arjuna, the deficiencies of Arjuna, and helping him overcome all that slowly, slowly. This is a very deep, he's portraying the depth of the relationship between a master and a student, how a master guides a student. That is why we should be eternally grateful to all the great, great masters, without whom we cannot be having this session here. How many great masters have come? The holy Siddhas, the holy masters. And how selflessly they have been giving us this wisdom. We should be eternally grateful to that. Eternally grateful to them. So by non-commencement of action, one does not obtain actionlessness. You imagine Arjuna, he's shocked now. Because actionlessness means, moment we say actionless, a state of, an actionless state, you will think a state where that person doesn't act, right? That's how the logical mind will think. He says, no, there is a subtle difference. And then renunciation. We generally think if we give up everything, now such a person will attain perfection. He says, no, one does not obtain perfection. So it's a psychological treatment. This was the communication is all about 90%, 95% psychology. I would say 99% psychology. Only 1% is the actual message. So we'll continue next week. Just think about all these points which were given. Even this verse, just absorb it in face value and bring that curiosity. What could he mean? By non-commencement of action, one does not obtain actionlessness. Then what could be Naishkarmyam? If you just build that curiosity and reflect upon it a little bit and come, you will be able to absorb the deep principles which will be expounded. Similarly, sannyas, renunciation cannot give perfection. But in many places it is said, it is through renunciation you attain perfection. Then what is true sannyas? What is true renunciation? So these, the very idea of putting it this way, why has he structured it this way, is for you to start asking these questions, to trigger these questions within you. Okay, so you just reflect on this. Next week we'll go into the depth of this verse. We'll start the process. Very, very powerful sadhana messages are there. By the time we keep, we go into the karma yoga, as we go week after week, every little block which you have will have to get pulverized. See, you have no choice. Either you give up this, or if you're going to continue, then be ready for a complete transformation. You have no choice. Okay? So, before we do the meditation, I will answer one small question which is been asked regarding the 22-day program. Now, one person has asked, due to the, sometimes poor internet connection and all that, in case there is a break, supposing during the meditation, then will the effect be lost? One thing you should understand is the online system has its limitations also, because we are dependent on technology and all that, and no system is 100% perfect. There are some loopholes here and there. The sadhaks who are serving, who are trying to organize the whole thing, they have minimized these kinds of issues as much as possible, to the best possible extent. But in spite of that, see, for example, as you asked, your net connection may suddenly be slow that day. So these things are not within your control. So what you should do is, first of all, even during the preparatory meditation, you be attuned to the higher Shakti and the Guru Shakti. And one thing is assured, the energy will be sent, the energy will be received by you. So in case some break happens in the middle, don't get upset or don't get agitated, then that will get you out of the state of meditation. Instead, calmly just solve it and again sit from wherever you left. Energy wise, there will be no break. See, all this technology, the various methodologies which are applied, these are all again the external aspects, the grosser aspects. But the subtler aspect is the energy transfer. That can never be broken. That will happen as long as you are internally connected to the higher Shakti and to the Guru Shakti. So without spoiling your meditation, you can in a calm way set it right and again sit from wherever you left, no issue. So there may be a break externally, but there should be no break internally. That is what as a sadhak you should practice. It has happened even in live sessions also. In one of the sessions, I remember when the meditation practice was on, suddenly, there was some disturbance. The power went off. The funniest part is they had asked the people to put the generator, the hall authority, and the diesel got over for the generator. So the power went off. For about 10 minutes, there was a kind of an external disturbance. But everybody was so deeply engrossed. So after that, when it was resumed, there was no disturbance as far as the empowerment or the inner state was concerned. So that is what you should aim at. Okay, so now we'll do the meditation. Sit in a comfortable position. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. With every breath, feel the divine vibrations. every breath, I am going deeper and deeper into myself. Beyond this physical body, beyond the mind, and beyond the intellect lies my true essential self. I attune myself to the higher self, the infinite God principle within me. From this moment onwards, I choose to put in all my effort to overcome every block which I have created within me and receive the higher wisdom along with the energy. I am Swayam Prakashit, self-illuminating. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes. Rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So we had a very deep session. The challenge is in overcoming your inner blocks. The more successful you are in overcoming your inner blocks, the more easy it will be for you to gain the higher wisdom and the higher Shakti, the higher energy. Due to our ignorance, we create so many blocks for our own selves. If Arjuna does not understand, it is his loss, not Krishna's. When a student does not receive, it is not the loss for the Guru, it is a loss for the student only. But because the Guru identifies with the student so much, he takes it as his own personal loss. And that is why these great masters, they try all methods to help the student, to push the student to the next level. Especially, you should start working on your blocks as we go along in these verses. This is coming at the right time because the Anandoham 22-day empowerment is going to be very powerful. I have received instructions in my meditation to increase the energy more. So it will not be one empowerment actually. As I told you, we are going to activate many dimensions of Ananda. Around 28 dimensions of happiness are going to be opened up. It's like 28 empowerments, These are main dimensions. And then there are going to be many sub-dimensions. If you add that also, it's like a feast only. Around 50 empowerments you'll be getting. So the energy levels are going to be very high. See, even to get one empowerment in the yogic path, they say, oh, I have received one empowerment from the higher. I'm so lucky. Now imagine so many empowerments packed in one course. So for you to benefit maximum, you need to start working on the blocks. The preparatory meditation which has been given to you, I'm sure you're doing that every day. That is designed to remove these blocks, because I want you to get prepared enough so that when we launch into the course, it should be like a takeoff for you. Anyway, initially the preparation will be given there, but even that preparation itself will be at a higher level only. That is why this preparatory small sadhana has been given to you. So do that on a daily basis. That will help you a lot. Okay? Remember, the preparatory meditation is apart from your regular sadhana. It's not a substitute for your regular sadhana. Okay, we are now talking about a very high level of empowerment. So no question of being lenient and all that. If you want to the benefits, this is the way. Okay, so thank you very much. I'll see you in the next session. Hari Om.